Hi guys, on or around the 20th, 21st of January during the blood moon eclipse, Israel launched their offensive against Iran in Syria. This was the largest launch of an offensive that they have done in quite a while. They were launching for over an hour and they publicized it almost immediately, which is not usually what they do. Now they have deployed Iron Dome anti-missile systems amid threats of airstrikes from Syria and escalating tensions on the Gaza Strip. Officials said one Iron Dome battery has been deployed in the Tel Aviv area, while others had been positioned in the south of the country. Iron Dome is a mobile all-weather air defense system designed to track and destroy short-range rockets and artillery shells. The beefed-up security operations got underway after Israel reported an increase in violence and verbal threats against it. Military chiefs said shots were fired at Israeli troops stationed along the Syrian border last night and responded by returning fire. The attacks came after Bashar Jafari, Syria's envoy to the United Nations, warned Damascus could attack Ben Gurion International Airport near Tel Aviv if the world body did not stop Israeli strikes on his country. Clashes erupted on Sunday when Israel carried out a daylight missile attack on Iranian targets in Syria, and Iran responded by firing a surface-to-surface missile at the northern Golan Heights, which was intercepted by the Iron Dome system. The Israeli Air Force then carried out retaliatory strikes on Iranian targets near Damascus and also on the Syrian air defense batteries that fired upon the attacking Israeli fighter jets. So this section that I've just read here is basically what happened leading up to the 20th, the 21st, and from then till now, this report is published on the 24th, they've now positioned Iron Dome batteries around the country in anticipation of an offensive from either Iran or Syria or both. Now, I think, as I pointed out before, that attack from Israel on Iran is depicted in this part of the video, the IPEC Go 2 video. Now, I think that's Iran launching their offensive. Now, as I think Iran is due to respond, we're still waiting to see if anything comes out of that. But in the meantime, the US military has hit a mosque in eastern Syria. They claim it was being used as a center for terrorist operations by Daesh in the area. The strike was conducted under Operation Inherent Resolve, the American military's name for the country's intervention in Iraq and Syria with the goal of defeating Daesh. ISIS continues to violate the law of armed conflict and misuse protected structures like hospitals and mosques, which causes a facility to lose its protected status. US Central Command, CENTCOM, said in a statement using another name for Daesh terrorist group, which is ISIS. So basically, there has been a hit on a mosque. Now, there's been a few hits on mosques over the last couple of years, so I'm not sure if I can actually say, yes, this is the one that they're talking about. But it certainly does appear that after the blood moon eclipse, after Israel launched their offensive, we do have a mosque being hit. So it does seem to flow in that linear timeline. So I'm looking out for the next event, which could either be, if there is an association with the number 7, whether that's 7, 17, or 27, something to do with the UK. The most likely thing is something involving Brexit, something that will affect the pound and cause it to lose some of its value. That's what I'm looking at for in the UK. Otherwise, it would be some form of terrorist attack, which could be blamed on Iran, maybe a chemical or biological attack, or something happening to the royal family involving the Queen. Those are the scenarios I have looking out for the UK. That will be around the 27th. Now, on the 30th, last year on the 30th is when Donald Trump gave his State of the Union speech. This year it would be on the 29th. However, because of the shutdown, that's been postponed. We don't have a date for that yet, but it may be that they just push it to the very next day, which is the 30th, or they could push it into the next week, could do it on the 3rd of February, which would be on the same day as Super Bowl. So obviously they wouldn't do it at the same time as Super Bowl unless they're doing it at the Super Bowl, which I still have my eyes out for, just in case they decide to do that. However, putting that to the side for 1 second, I've got a reference to the number 30 from this part of the screen, or the part of the scene here in the IPEC Go 2 video. Now, I pointed out before that this does appear to be a half a face facing upwards with a nose, a mouth, an eye closed over here, and the top of the head where the explosion is coming out. And I've interpreted that as the attempted assassination of Donald Trump using a gun, trying to shoot him. Now, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing all these different points here, and I've noticed that you could add them up. So you've got 5 over here, you've got 5 missiles coming out, that's 10. And then you've got the reference to this one down here and the tunnel itself could make a 0/20. Sorry, not 30, 31. I'm doing the wrong one right now. Let me start again. I'll do that one afterwards. So the first count is 5 and 5, which is 10. Then you've got top of the mosque. Sorry, just pause that. Then you've got the top of the mosque and the entrance to it, which looks like a tunnel. But if you kind of put those together, you have the figure number 8. Then right next to it, you've got the tower sticking up, which is number 1. So 18, 10, that's 28. And then you've got the reference to 2 over here, which is the number 30. And I think that may be connected to Donald Trump. The reason being is because I think that Iran is going to respond to Israel on the 31st, excuse me one second, on the 31st of January. And the reason I think that is because of what I pointed out before, which is the number 31 up in the clouds, the smoke, the tsunami wave just over here. And if that's saying 31 after an eclipse, then that would most likely be 31st of January, which is coming up. And it's still within a year of the dog, but only just, because there'll only be 4 to 5 days left after that. So if that happens so if something happens to Donald Trump on the 30th, which may be counted out here, then Iran comes out the next day on the 31st. We then have, oops, I think I closed one. Yeah, I did. Never mind. We then have a reference to a linear timeline. So if something happens to Donald Trump, Iran gets emboldened, they come out 4 days later, just after February the 4th is finished and the year of the dog is ended, going into February the 5th, China comes out. Obviously, between that time, we also have indications of Russia and other things happening. Putting that to the side for 1 second. The other count, the one I did first, is the 5, forgetting the top of the mosque and just having the 0 there, the 1, and then this, instead of being 2, references 11. So 11, 10, and 10 again. That's referencing 31. And we have that, the missile reference, and that could be, again, just a dual interpretation. I think that's the one I closed actually, yeah. So the dual interpretation for the 31 in the clouds, in the smoke above Osama bin Laden, who I think represents Iran. So basically, just looking out for something happening with Donald Trump on the 30th of January, and then Iran coming out, blocking the Strait of Hormuz, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, we've also got the situation with Venezuela that's just kind of devolved very quickly over the last couple of days. Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela, gave the American diplomat 72 hours to get out, and that was yesterday, I believe it was. So they've got until, I think, the 28th, maybe just the end of the 27th, to comply with that order. Obviously, at the moment, they're not, because they're not recognizing Nicolas Maduro as the legitimate president of Venezuela. We know, as I've discussed before, that Russia is over there. They sent 2 nuclear-capable bombers over there earlier last year. So it seems as if they're obviously prepared for the potential for America to try and involve themselves in Venezuela militarily. And obviously that wouldn't be good. It would be kind of like another Syria situation with all these different countries involving themselves in a country that's failing economically. But it would be right on the back door of the United States. So something a lot more concerning for the American people. The reason I had this up is because, again, I just wanted to quickly have that look again at this eyebrow, because I know this over here is Donald Trump lying on his back, and I know what that reference is. This over here is a date reference, but I just haven't been able to get it. And I think I'm going to try it one last time, and it's going to coincide with the other things that I've talked about in this video, which is the 30th of January. I think we could be looking at the Lunar 25. So instead of it being 1 and 5, I'm kind of ignoring this over here because I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I'm pretty sure that this is the number 5 just here. But if you go backwards, it's also the number 2. So it could be Lunar 25 they're actually pointing to there, rather than Lunar 5 or Lunar 15, which I have looked at before. The Lunar 25th would bring us to the 30th of January, and combined with this scene here, having the number 30 in there as well, and also having an image of Donald Trump kind of lying on his back again, that would be face up. That's a dual message, I think. So looking out for something on the 30th with Donald Trump there. Obviously after that, after the 30th comes and the 31st comes, if whether something happens or not, still going to be looking out on the 1st of February for something around a volcano erupting, maybe Kilauea, maybe Etna, maybe another one like the cumbre vieja, we talked about a lot. Could be all three, could be none of them, or just keep watch. But there's obviously also the reference for the 3rd of February in here as well, which is also 23, which is also a reference outside the classroom with Psalm 23. So this may be saying the time period between the number 21 and the number 23, which could be referenced as February the 1st to February the 3rd. And obviously February the 1st is the Super Bowl. We've got the apple, could be acting like the bull. We've got the foot, put them together. You've got football, that's the European version, a way of saying American football, which is basically what the Super Bowl is. We've got the reference to the apple cutting in half, the number 8 in the middle. As I've said before, the game starts at 6:30 in the evening. Half time is 8 o'clock. That kind of just makes sense. Half time is half the apple. It's right in the middle of the apple. The 8 is kind of right going through. So you get what I'm saying. Also, it's a Friday, so we've got a reference to, is it Friday? Let me just double check. Might be a Sunday actually, no, it's a Sunday. So that's not a Friday, it's February, that's the F, what the F is representing. So, just come back. Just have a quick look, maybe there's something I'm supposed to see here and that's why it flipped over. Ah, there is actually. That's another reference to number 30. Thank you. That is connected with Donald Trump as well. We know that this figure over here, he sits like Donald Trump with the pointed hands clasped together, pointing down in an upside down triangle between the legs, just as he does. You can go and check it out, it's easy to see. But then we have the reference to the number 3 and his arms making the number 0, so the number 30 again there. And obviously that figure's that figure's sitting like Donald Trump with the number 30 attached to him. We have the figure of Donald Trump on George Bush's eyebrow with possibly lunar number 25 on the other eyebrow, which is also the 30th. We have the image of him lying half facing upwards with the points all around him capable of adding up to the number 30. And that would obviously be just before the 31st, looking at for Iran, then on to the February the 1st to the 3rd, looking at for volcanoes, tsunamis, a nuclear missile or detonation of some kind that may involve a house like either the UK Parliament or the US House of Representatives, Capitol Hill, looking out for that. And then we get on to the 4th, at some point between Donald Trump getting shot and the nuclear detonation, there's an EMP. Now it could be that the nuclear detonation is the EMP, so that could possibly come on the same day, which in all interpretations comes on the number 23, which is in this interpretation the 3rd of February, the Super Bowl day. The 4th appears to be connected with death in general, so if things are happening like on February the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, then that would make sense. And as February the 4th is ending and we're going on to February the 5th, that's when we have, well, that's when I think we have a reference to China coming out. And I'm just taking that from the New Year reference with the fireworks, but there's 5 of them. So it's kind of pointing me to the New Year happening on the number 5, which this year it would be just as it goes on to number 5. That's when the Chinese New Year begins. The year of the dog ends, the year of the pig begins, the Chinese zodiac dragon is released and comes forward. And that's where I think, sorry, not there either. There. That's where I think we are in this scene. Obviously, there's still a reference to something swirling as well. Now, that could be referencing Hurricane Florence, as we talked about last year. But it may not be. It may be referencing something else coming this year. And there's a lot of references to swirling patterns in this video, so it's not really the weather for a hurricane, but it may not be a hurricane, maybe some sort of winter cyclone or something, something that we've never seen before. So keep an eye out for that as well. A lot of things to keep your eyes open for. There are literally only 9 days left. After that, I won't be making videos on dates, but I will be keeping my eyes on the calendar up until February the 18th, which would give me the time for the Julian calendar to catch up, which is 13 days behind. Obviously, once that period ends, then I could say to myself, yeah, nothing happened, and the iPad Go 2 video looked like it had connections, but I would just have to draw them as coincidences. But until then, I will stick with the interpretations and convey them to you as I discover them. Obviously, you guys know I do a lot of different interpretations. Sometimes I can look at the same thing, like the apple scene, and give you 10 different interpretations. And it may be that we're just in the wrong time period for those things. So, with all that said, you guys, look out for something happening to Donald Trump on the 30th. Look out for Iran coming forward on the 31st. Look out for volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, volcanoes. Tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, I said volcanoes twice. Earthquake, magnitude 9+, forgot to mention that. EMP, or blackout of some kind, cyber attack maybe, most likely. EMP though, because they're looking to, take the power out on the whole continent of North America. And then move on to the 4th. At the end of the 4th, you'd be looking for China to, enter into the war. And from there, it's war. That's all I can really tell after that point. It's just war for some time, in my interpretation, up until June 21st next year. Next year, yeah, 2020, when we have the solar eclipse on the summer solstice, and we might see a fake meteor shower because Japan has their artificial meteor shower. Their artificial satellite. Their satellite up there for creating artificial meteor showers, which they plan to do in 2020. As I said, they don't have a release date on that yet, which I'll be looking out for. But I'm just thinking, if they're planning to do this, then it would make sense that they do it around the same time. So June 21st, looking out for that as well. After that, in 2022, that's when NASA planned to knock a satellite into an asteroid or a meteor, whichever one they're calling it, to knock it off its trajectory. Well, to basically play like billiards with it, to use the satellite to knock into an asteroid and use that asteroid to knock into another asteroid, to practice knocking it off its trajectory. In my opinion, I really don't know, but just because I don't trust NASA and I don't trust a lot of the organizations and alphabet soup governments out there, it may be that they actually plan to do a fake something or a real something, and not knocking it off trajectory, but knocking it onto trajectory. So that's another thing to consider. You guys have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, keep watch, and may the Heavenly Father bless you.